Hello, everyone. I'm Benny DeCecca, Chief Executive Officer of Validation Institute, and today I'm delighted to be joined by Tom Busler, National Vice President of Sales for Apta Health. Hello, Tom, and thank you for being here today.
Hey, thanks a lot, Benny. We're excited to be a part of this series with y'all.
So let's just jump right in. Can you tell me what is Apta Health?
Yeah, so Apta Health is a program manager for high performance self-funded benefits programs. We really like to think of those types of strategies that enterprise level employers, those with multiple thousands of employees, have been doing for potentially dozens of years at this point to help manage their spend and make sure that some of those same types of strategies are available to a smaller species of client. So um, we really got our start focused on the care coordination strategy. So when we think of Apta Health, we've actually trademarked a phrase called guided healthcare, which is the idea that you would be um, with the member, not only sort of after they've been diagnosed with some sort of health condition, but the idea that you are there as they enter into the purchasing equation, right? As they're being diagnosed, as they're going to that physician for the first time, is that we act as that sort of member interface. And we've partnered with vendors, and we've also invested heavily in our own strategies to figure out ways that we can really be side by side with that member again as they're entering into the purchase of healthcare and as they're making those decisions. We know that if you try and get involved with a member once they've already started down a healthcare journey path, that making changes to that path can be very difficult. We also know that oftentimes if you leave members to sort of let the healthcare system navigate for them rather than assisting them and maybe making thoughtful interventions, that you have a series of potentially financial arrangements that are sort of guiding them through the various stages of purchasing healthcare, as opposed to what might be in their best interest for a number of other reasons, right? Either the quality, the total cost of care, and then also looking outside of those silos that may be um, sort of put around a member if they're left to be navigated either solely by a hospital system, an insurance company, or something like that. So it's sort of the independence of having a third party who's really looking out only for the member's best interests and the performance features of our program allows us to navigate them in a way that just they wouldn't otherwise receive if they were sort of in what we consider to be a traditional insurance arrangement.
Right. Well, that all sounds great. So can you tell me how is Apta Health different?
Yeah, so I mean, Apta Health kind of comes back again to that sort of, as you're aware, a lot of the more recent legislative developments within healthcare have been focused around transparency. We have, now the sort of advent or the deployment of machine readable files and things like that, where the idea is that the consumer is going to be able to receive a lot more information, the removal of gag clauses and things like that, so that members can have more information at their disposal, make better decisions, and again, aspire to higher levels of performance and quality within healthcare. We feel like we've been doing those things for our entire existence, even though they're now sort of being mandated within the industry, sort of like we feel like we've been doing it even before it was cool, right? So Apta Health has been focused on that sort of independent, transparent model from the beginning. Everything we do is on an unbundled, self-funded model because those are the sort of prerequisites that allow for the very best types of solutions to take hold within any given self-funded plan. Um, we also focus on ideas and execution. So as a program manager, we don't want sort of the uh, failure to execute to be confused for a bad idea. So what I mean by that is there are a lot of great innovative companies out there who have incredible ideas on how to fix healthcare and how to bring more transparency, more performance, better ideas on purchasing, purchasing efficiencies and things like that. But if they don't invest very heavily in what I call the sort of unsexy things that actually make those ideas work, you could have a buyer that ends up frustrated and they think, well, this was we made a mistake in believing in this strategy. But what they've really had is a failure to sort of either deploy, implement, integrate successfully. And therefore they look at the idea and they think the idea was a bad idea. We have again, you know, invested extremely heavily in account management, in implementation, in integration, and the sort of idea that you can execute better than some of the competition, uh, so that the good ideas that you bring to the table are really realized in a very full-bodied fashion, and that it's not lost in translation, and that you don't have buyers that have sort of a regret or remorse for pursuing innovation because you didn't deliver on those promises. So that's something I think that really differentiates us, is the amount of emphasis that we put on operational excellence, so that our buyers end up satisfied and seeing the fruits of the ideas that we brought to them.
And if I'm an employer out there, who's a good fit for this?
Yeah. So again, coming back to that idea that we have been aspiring to this sort of enterprise level of performance, our average client is probably about a 3 to 500 employee organization. Typically about double that in membership. If you include spouses and dependents, and it's that employer that has become frustrated with the status quo, right? They have been out there in traditional insurance arrangements. They've been fully insured for a while. They have a thoughtful advisor that's been telling them about the virtues of self-funding, about the additional programming that they can deploy on an unbundled chassis, and they're ready to take that next step into a higher level of performance. We kind of serve two different clients. We have the end user, right, which is ABC company, but we also have the advisor that sits there in the middle. And the advisor is somebody who we focus from a sales standpoint very heavily on blanketing the market and making sure that all those advisors that are out there thoughtfully thinking about the various strategies that they can deploy, and saying, the idea that a traditional self-funded or ASO or fully insured arrangement, and just driving towards the best discount, that you know that you can do significantly better than that, right, is something that we're really working with those advisors that are aspiring to do more. And then a lot of times those that serve the mid-market, what we call transitional business, right? So those buyers that are moving from fully insured into self-funding for the first time. We've also invested heavily in captive strategies. So we work with a number of various captive programs out there, because captive vehicles as a financial arrangement are very attractive for buyers who are making that move from the first time from being fully insured into self-funding. So we've worked with all of the various major captive purveyors out in the market so that they understand our value proposition, and so that they can reflect the value of what we're doing in their stop loss pricing, right? So I would say that's kind of maybe the final distinguishing factor is we have an entire underwriting team and department. In fact, we've developed new products on this front. This is for another call on another day, but the idea that we can leverage the performance that we have built in our self-funded programming, and then have an immediate return on that by effectively telling that story and generating value with a stop loss carrier, right? So if the stop loss carrier is, like the Validation Institute, almost another validator, because they're the ones who are putting their money where their mouth is, in terms of when we come in with a great program with a great track record, they are able to look at that performance and then reflect it in the premiums that they're charging and the factors that they ascribe to any given risk. So at that point, we're trying to um, ease the entry for those groups into that self-funding world by getting extremely competitive stop loss rates, whether those be with a captive or a traditional stop loss market. So all of those things are things that, again, we've invested in heavily, to make sure that those smaller buyers who know the right thing to do, that they have the ability to reach for that performance, and then effectively have it deployed, and then live with it and enjoy it for many years to come.
And you mentioned Validation Institute, so why was it important for Apta Health to pursue a validation?
Yeah, I mean, it's in fact, if you look, we try and keep fairly tidy signature blocks and things like that. But one of the few things that we actually have in almost all of our all of our personnel in their signature blocks and their emails is the Validation Institute logo and stamp of approval. We've I mean, it's one of the core tenets that when we go out and we talk about how our program works, I mentioned there's this sort of stop loss validation, and then there's the independent validation that we have from the Validation Institute. And, those comprise the bulk of sort of some of the performance features. We look at it sort of like a good housekeeping seal of approval. We have salespeople that go out and can tell an incredible story about all of the various functional areas of our programs, how we build point solutions into a guided healthcare program that works with the member in real time. And they do all these incredible things. And at the end of the day, we're salespeople. We have a vested interest in the outcome. But when we have the Validation Institute that has, sort of impartial empirical guidelines for how they evaluate these programs, and we can put that out there for a skeptical advisor, a buyer who's once bitten twice shy with regards to their insurance arrangements, they now have a lot more faith in the veracity of what we're telling them and are willing to take that next step into the unknown. Because again, the thing that really stops people from pursuing performance is typically fear of the unknown. And we are espousing incredible performance. And we have a partner like the Validation Institute, who works with Apta, who evaluates our block of business, who evaluates the case studies, and says the story that these guys are telling is real and it generates real results. It impacts your claims and it creates sustainability in healthcare. We are able to convince those sort of doubting Thomas types of buyers into taking that plunge and then never looking back.
Right. Well, not many companies pass validation and go through that rigorous process and are able to prove out their outcomes and savings. And you obviously have, and it's a great thing. And you do some great work. So thank you very much. Thank you for being here, Tom, and sharing your insights today. It's been a pleasure having you here.
Yeah, Benny, it's been a real pleasure to, again, not only be on this sort of podcast with you, but also uh, now in multiple years of validation with the Validation Institute. It's been a pleasure to have your organization recognize ours for what we've been doing, and we look forward to working with you for many more years to come.
Great. And for everyone out there who wants to learn more, I encourage you to visit validationinstitute.com and download the Apta Health report. Thank you very much and have a great day.
Thanks.